Do you ever have to wake up in the middle of the night and have to go pee? Well, you're not alone. A lot of people actually have to do this. And I know I personally will have to do this if I chug a bunch of water right before I'm supposed to go to sleep. But if I'm thirsty, what else am I supposed to do? But what if this happens to you every single day on a regular basis? Well, first of all, that's not normal. And how can we actually fix this? So there's a few things I'm gonna go over that could play a big part in having to wake up in the middle of the night. So the first thing I want to talk about is eating and drinking right before you go to bed. So this is common sense, right? If you chug a bunch of water right before you're supposed to go to sleep, you're probably gonna have to pee in the middle of the night. But when is the best time to stop eating before you go to sleep? Well, the studies are saying that it's best to stop eating about 3 hours before you go to sleep. This will give your body some time to digest that food, and this will really prevent you from waking up in the middle of the night. Now, another thing that could be happening is you could have a breathing issue. So one breathing issue a lot of people have when they're sleeping is they are a mouth breather. So one thing that happens with mouth breathers is when they're lying on their back, their mouth is open, their tongue starts to fall back in the back of their throat. And what happens is their tongue will start to cut off their breathing. And this cut off of your breathing, you're gonna get a lot less oxygen to your body. And what can also happen is your tongue can go completely back and completely cut off your breathing. And if this happens for longer than 10 seconds, that's considered sleep apnea. Now what happens when your tongue falls back and it cuts off your breathing is your body's gonna respond because your body's gonna think that you're dead if you stop breathing. And when your body realizes that your breathing has been cut off, the first thing that's gonna go is your bladder. Now this will have a different reaction whether you're a kid or an adult. So in a child, what happens is they're gonna wet the bed. So if you were ever a kid that always wet the bed, this could be a reason why. Because if your tongue was always back and you were always snoring, you could have had some sort of breathing obstruction that woke you up in the middle of the night and caused you to wet the bed. Now in an adult, they're a lot less likely to wet the bed. What's gonna happen is they're gonna have to wake up and actually go to the bathroom. Luckily, your body will control that enough so you won't wet the bed anymore, but you'll still have to wake up and go pee. Now, having your breathing cut off like this, it doesn't mean that you automatically have sleep apnea. Remember, for sleep apnea to be diagnosed, you have to have that breathing cut off for 10 seconds. And this has to happen multiple times throughout the night. Now, I don't know about you, but if something caused me to stop breathing in the middle of the night for even 5 seconds or even 1 second, I'd be a little freaked out. But in order for sleep apnea to be diagnosed, it has to be 10 seconds. So 10 seconds is a pretty long time, but that just goes to show even if you don't have sleep apnea, you could still have a breathing issue. So there's a lot of different breathing issues that could be going on. You could have any sort of airway resistance. That's basically something that's resisting air from getting into your lungs. So whether that's a deviated septum, really large tonsils and adenoids, having a really large tongue, if something is blocking air from getting into your lungs, you have a breathing problem. And there's studies that actually show when you have a breathing resistance like this, it can actually cause sleep apnea in the future. And the reason is these breathing obstructions, they never get better on their own. And actually, they always get worse over time because anytime your body has to fight to get enough air into your lungs, it's gonna cause a lot of stress on your body, and it's also gonna cause a lot of chronic inflammation. So that stress and that chronic inflammation is what plays a big part in developing sleep apnea. So what can you do? Well, there's a ton of evidence that shows that you can prevent a lot of these issues by simply breathing more through your nose while you're sleeping. So how can you control breathing through your nose versus your mouth? Well, a simple solution is to tape your mouth shut before you go to sleep. Now, you don't have to get anything fancy to tape your mouth shut at night. You can use something called micropore paper tape, which is really gentle to the skin, and you can get this pretty much anywhere, like Amazon, for example. But this mouth tape is gonna force you to start breathing through your nose. And there's a ton of research that shows that when you breathe through your nose versus your mouth, that your airway is gonna be a lot more open and that you're gonna sleep a lot better. And you'll also be less likely to wake up in the middle of the night. So another thing you can try is using a nasal dilator strip. So this is basically a little piece of tape that goes over your nose, and this will help keep your nose passages open. So if you feel like you're struggling getting enough air through your nose, this is a really simple thing that you could try. Now, if you're still wondering, like, how can I possibly start breathing through my nose if I always have allergies or my nose is always stuffy? Well, there's actually a little exercise that you can do. And I made another video on that and I'm gonna put a link in the description below, so make sure you check that out. Now, another thing that could be making you pee in the middle of the night is if you're drinking coffee or alcohol. So both of these drinks are completely different, but they're both diuretics, which means they make you pee. So both coffee and alcohol, when you drink them right before you go to sleep, it's gonna ruin your sleep. It's gonna lower your sleep quality, it's gonna lower your sleep efficiency, and you're gonna wake up feeling groggy and tired. Now, alcohol is obvious, right? It's a poison, it's terrible for you. But what about coffee? Well, the best time to drink coffee is about 90 minutes to 2 hours after you wake up. You don't wanna drink it right away. And the reason is if you drink it right away, there's studies showing that you're gonna get that caffeine crash when it wears off. But if you wait 90 minutes to 2 hours, it's really gonna prevent that caffeine crash. But also with coffee, it has a very long half-life. That means it takes a long time for it to get out of your system. So it's recommended to stop drinking coffee about 8 hours before you go to sleep. So you got a really small window there to drink your coffee. Now, if you look online about why you have to pee in the middle of the night, you're gonna see a lot of different things. Like you could see that you have diabetes, or you're pre-diabetic, or you have some sort of infection or some tumor. The list is gonna go on. So if this is an issue for you, it's really important that you go check it out with your doctor as well, because there could be a lot of other things that are going on. Now, if you're waking up in the middle of the night, it may not seem like a big deal. Like, okay, big whoop, I have to wake up in the middle of the night and then I go pee and then I go back to bed. What's the big deal? But if it's constantly going on, that's not normal. And you definitely wanna fix it. So you definitely wanna get it looked at before it gets worse. For example, if you have sleep apnea or even some sort of breathing problem, that's always gonna get worse over time. And you definitely don't wanna wait on that. And some people even die from sleep apnea because they don't treat it fast enough. And also, if you're constantly waking up in the middle of the night every single night, it's also gonna affect your sleep quality because you're messing with your sleep cycles now. So your sleep quality is not going to be as good. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you liked that video, and if you haven't already, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel below. I will see you in the next video.